ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಕೋರಿರುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಝೂನೋಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಟು ರೇಬಿಸ್. ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಜನ್ಯ ರೋಗಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಿಂದ ಜನಿಸಿ ಮನುಷ್ಯರಿಗೆ ತಗುಲುವಂತ ಕೆಲವು ರೋಗಗಳು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಝೂನೋಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಝೂನೋಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ರೋಗಗಳಿದಾವೆ. ಅದ ನಂತರ ಒಂದ್ 2-3 ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆದ ನಂತರ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲಾ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಈ ಒಂದು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ರೋಗಗಳು ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಿಂದ ಮನುಷ್ಯರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ತಗುಲುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೋಗಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಕೇವಲ ಹುಚ್ಚುನಾಯಿ ರೋಗದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ರೇಬಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಝೂನೋಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಟು ರೇಬಿಸ್. ನಾನು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ವೆಟರ್ನರಿ ಆನಿಮಲ್ ಫಿಶರಿ ಸೈನ್ಸಸ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಮತ್ತು CVA ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಾಮನ್ವೆಲ್ತ್ ವೆಟರ್ನರಿ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಕೆಲವು ಪದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಲೇಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಕಾಮನ್ವೆಲ್ತ್ ವೆಟರ್ನರಿ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರು ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ S. ಅಬ್ದುಲ್ ರೆಹಮಾನ್ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ, ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ನನ್ನ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮೆಂಟರ್. ನಾನು BVSC ಇದೇ ಪಶುವೈದ್ಯಕ ಮಹಾವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಂತಹ ಸಂದರ್ಭ ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಸೈಟಾಲಜಿ ಕಲಿಸಿರುವಂತವ್ರು. ತದನಂತರ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಆದ್ರು ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಮನ್ವೆಲ್ತ್ ವೆಟರ್ನರಿ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ಗೆ. ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಸಹಯೋಗದಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರೊಂದು ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದ ಒಂದು ಲಿಂಕೇಜ್ ಇಂದ ಈ ಒಂದು ನಾವು ರೇಬಿಸ್ ಡಯಾಗ್ನೋಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಲ್ಯಾಬೊರೇಟರಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಪಶುವೈದ್ಯಕೀಯ ಮಹಾವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ಥಾಪನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಕೇವಲ ಒಂದು 8-9 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ. ಹೋದ ವರ್ಷ ಅಷ್ಟೇಯ ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಯೋಗಶಾಲೆಯನ್ನು, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಡೆಡಿಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಆನಿಮಲ್ ರೇಬಿಸ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್, ಇದನ್ನ OIE ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಬೊರೇಟರಿ ಫಾರ್ ರೇಬಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಉನ್ನತೀಕರಣ ಆಯಿತು. OIE ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ವಿಶ್ವ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, WHO. ಅದ್ರ ಒಂದು ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸ್ಥಾನ ಇರುವಂತಹದ್ದು ಜಿನೆವಾದಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲ WHO ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಕೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಮಾನಾಂತರವಾದಂತಹ ದ ಈಕ್ವಲೆಂಟ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಏಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಈಸ್ OIE, ವಿಚ್ ಕೇಟರ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಆನಿಮಲ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳು ಇದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಾಕು ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಕಾಡು ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಈ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಅವುಗಳ ಒಂದು ಹೆಲ್ತ್ಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತ ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು OIE ದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. OIE ಅನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮರುನಾಮಕರಣ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಕೆಲವು ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಆನಿಮಲ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಈ OIE ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸ್ಥಾನ ಇರುವಂತಹದ್ದು ಪ್ಯಾರಿಸ್, ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ. OIE ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಲ್ಯಾಬೊರೇಟರಿಯನ್ನ OIE ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಬೊರೇಟರಿ ಫಾರ್ ರೇಬಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿರುವಂತಹದ್ದು ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾ ಒಂದು ಹೆಮ್ಮೆ ವಿಚಾರ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಕೇವಲ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕೇವಲ ಭಾರತ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಈ 18 ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳು. ಅಯ್ಯಪ್ಪನ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕ್ಷಣಗಳ ಮುಂಚೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, 18 ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ರೇಬಿಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಡಯಾಗ್ನೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅದರ ಸರ್ವೆಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ರೋಗವನ್ನ ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಿಯಂತ್ರಣ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ನೋವುನೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಈ ಒಂದು 18 ದೇಶಗಳಿಗೂ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಈ ರೇಬಿಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ನನ್ನ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸರ್, ನಾನು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಇದು 2ನೇ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಸರ್? ಓಕೆ ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ಸೊ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಒಂದು ಅನುಮತಿಯಿಂದ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಈ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ತಾವೊಂದು ಅನುಮತಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. So before I proceed with my day's presentation on rabies, I would like to offer my salutations to Isklur Master of Government Shri Marikamba High School at Shirsi at North Kannada district in Karnataka state. And he is my proud father, not only a mentor, he is my teacher also. I say is. And he was basically teaching science to all the high school students, and he has dedicated his 31+ years of service as a science teacher in that government high school in Sirsi. The biology tumba interesting agittu ಅವರ subject, that was his passion. He took science as a passion, ಅದೊಂದು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರು. ಅವರು ಹಲವಾರು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಬರೆದಿದ್ರು. ನನ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ನೆನಪಿದೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಅವರು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮೋಟಿವೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಈ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಮೂಡಿಸಬೇಕು ಅವರ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ ಅದರಿಂದ ಸಮಾಜಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಒಳ್ಳೇದ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಅದರಿಂದ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಒಳ್ಳೇದ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೂಡ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಡೆಮಾನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ಸ್. ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಬಿಗ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಅಡ್ವಾನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹುಶಃ 40 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಾನು ಯಾವಾಗ ಇದೇ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೈಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ನ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪ್ ಒಂದೇ. ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವ್ರು ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಡೆಮಾನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಹುಡುಗರಿಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹುಡುಗರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಒಂದು ಆಸಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಮೂಡಿಸಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹದ್ದೇ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಕಮಿಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಹಲವಾರು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂತಹ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸಚಿತ್ರ ಜನಪ್ರಿಯ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಅಂತ ತುಂಬಾ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ನನಗೆ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಅಯ್ಯಪ್ಪನ್ ಸರ್, ರಮೇಶ್ ಸರ್, ಇದೇ ಪುಸ್ತಕದೊಂದು ಪ್ರತಿ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲಿಫೋರ್ನಿಯಾ ಬರ್ಕ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಯುನೈಟೆಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈಬ್ರರಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಂಗೆ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು. ನನ್ನ ಅದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಹೋಗಿ ಯಾವ ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಯ್ತು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ನಮ್ಮ ಲೇಟ್ ಜ್ಞಾನಪೀಠ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ ಅವಾರ್ಡಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಕೋಟ ಶಿವರಾಮ್ ಕಾರಂತ್ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋರು ಯಾರೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. 1965ರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪುಸ್ತಕನ ಅದೇ ಹೈಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿವರಾಮ್ ಕಾರಂತ್ ಅವರು ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಫೋಟೋ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಚಿಕ್ಕವನಿದ್ದಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ತಂದೆಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂತಿದ್ರೆ, ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದಿದು ಆಯ್ತು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು, ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಬ್ಬ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ನಾವು ಓದುವಾಗ we should read it not for the sake of examination, but please read the books for the sake of enriching your knowledge. ನಮ್ಮ ಜ್ಞಾನವನ್ನ ನಾವು ವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಆ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಪ್ರೌಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಹೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಡರ್ ಸನ್. ಮೊನ್ನೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರಮೇಶ್ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅರುಣ್ ಇಸ್ಲೂರ್ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿದ್ದ. ಸೊ ಅವನು ಹೇಳ್ದ, ಏನಣ್ಣ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ? ಅವಾಗ ನಾವಿಬ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಿ. ಸರಿ ನೋಡಪ್ಪ, ನಮ್ ತಂದೆಯವರು ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಳ್ಕಳಿ ಇರುವಂತವ್ರು. ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ದೆನ್ ಅ ಗೋಲ್ಡನ್ ಅಪಾರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಫಾರ್ ಅಸ್ ಬೋತ್ ಬ್ರದರ್ಸ್ that the KSTA has provided us to inspire or motivate the brilliant students of PUC colleges, especially I believe most of them are from the government colleges of Karnataka. Then we thought we have to dedicate our presentations to our father. So adar salvagi, by offering salutations to my father, I call him Baba. I will just continue further. Sorry for this. Well, what are the zoonotic diseases? As I already mentioned, zoonotic diseases refer to those diseases which are infectious to human beings and would have originated from animals. It can be any species of animals, or it can be even birds. And these zoonotic diseases, they're also known as zooanthroponosis. That means, you please see the arrowhead is directing towards the human beings, whereas the tail of this say arrow is pointing towards the animals. It can be any species of the animals. So that means zoonotic diseases refer to those diseases which are transmitted from animals or mammals, including bats or even say birds, to associated human population. Then there is another terminology called anthropozoonosis. Anthropozoonosis means they are the diseases which are transmitted to animals from human beings. This is actually also known as a reverse zoonosis. Then there is another terminology called amphixenosis. That means the diseases can be transmitted either from animals to human beings or even from human beings to animals. There is a big plethora of diseases which are identified under 3 different categories of these diseases. Why exactly these zoonotic diseases actually precipitate or they occur? You see, we're all living in this wonderful ecosystem. The interplay between the human population as well as the livestock or any species of the animals, including wild animals, in the ecosystem may lead to occurrence of these zoonotically important diseases or anthropozoonosis. See, human beings are susceptible to various diseases. So also several species of wild animals. See, in this particular, because we can see the overlapping of a human component, wild animal component, as well as the livestock. We are all living in the same ecosystem. So there is a high possibility that the diseases affecting these three different domains in the ecosystem can be transmitted from one group to another group. That is what actually precisely I mean. Then what are these various kinds of causative agents of the zoonosis or the zoonotic diseases? So they can be caused by bacteria. Like there is again a list of diseases, and of these I have encircled only brucellosis. I will tell you why I just emphasize on brucellosis as far as bacterial zoonosis is concerned. That means these zoonotically important diseases are caused by bacteria. I believe, I'm sure all the students, being the sciences students, you know the basic difference between a bacteria and a virus. You know, since a couple of years ago, the globe itself is going through the wave of SARS coronavirus causing COVID-19. That is actually basically caused by a coronavirus. You know, we have been living these coronaviral diseases in our animals. There are several coronaviral diseases affecting poultry, and then cattle, and then dog, and then cat. But these coronaviruses are entirely different from the one which is actually causing this COVID-19 in case of human population. And we have very good vaccines against these coronaviral diseases affecting the poultry as well as the livestock population. And we have been undertaking vaccination against corona in case of our animals, with reference to pet animals or livestock animals, since the last several decades. And thank God these coronaviruses are not jumping to the associated human population. So this is about the virus. What is the basic difference between a bacteria and a virus? Bacteria is much bigger, and bacteria is a prokaryotic organism. And then bacteria, very, very important difference between a bacteria and virus is that bacteria need not have to have a living cell for its own multiplication or proliferation. Whereas viruses, they have to have strictly a living cell. ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಜೀವಕೋಶ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ವೈರಸಸ್ಗಳು ಈ ಜೀವಕೋಶಗಳ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅದ ನಂತರ ವೈರಸಸ್ಗಳು ಒಳಗಡೆ ವೃದ್ಧಿ ಆಗ್ತವೆ. ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದೀಸ್ ವೈರಸಸ್ ಆರ್ intracellularly existing obligatory microbial populations, viruses, whereas bacteria is independent of the living cell. ಒಂದು ಜೀವಕೋಶಗಳ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಕೂಡ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾನ ಅದು ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ವೈರಸಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಗ್ರೋ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಇದು ಲ್ಯಾಬೊರೇಟರೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಲ್ಯಾಬೊರೇಟರೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೋ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಬಟ್ ವೈರಸಸ್ ಅನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದು ವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಲ್ಯಾಬೊರೇಟರಿ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಯೋಗಶಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಎ ಮಸ್ಟ್, without which viruses cannot undergo replication. Whereas it is not so in case of bacteria. Bacteria is much bigger, and bacteria can be visualized under the ordinary student microscope. I'm sure all the students in this particular session have seen at least some of the bacteria using the ordinary student microscope. Now, as far as viral zoonosis is concerned, again, viruses can be categorized as RNA viruses and DNA viruses. Another very, very important issue of viruses I just would like to emphasize here. You see, all the living entities on the globe, as far as the knowledge of the scientific fraternity is concerned, whether it is a bacteria, whether it is a virus, whether it is a rickettsia, whether it is a fungus or a parasite or a tick or animal, bird, human being, you name whatever the living entities. All these living entities, including macrobial as well as microbial entities, are concerned. Their genetic content is actually made of DNA. DNA is actually the master control, deoxyribonucleic acid. And only a few families of the viruses have RNA as their genetic content. Only few viruses. In fact, we have DNA viral families also. Like we have heard of herpes viral infection. Kannadadalli ನಾವು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ಪಸುತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. Herpes is caused by a DNA virus. You have heard of a pox virus. Smallpox is the first infectious disease which was declared eradicated from the globe way back in 1977 itself. Through extensive vaccinations carried out at the global level, smallpox is eliminated. That is caused by DNA virus. But you know about the rabies virus, the coronavirus, then you know about the polio virus, which is affecting the human population. They are all caused by the RNA viruses. That is one speciality of a selected families of the viruses. Their genetic content is made of RNA. And you know, this controlling these RNA viral infections leading to diseases is little tricky, because RNA viruses have got a much higher ability compared to DNA viruses to undergo mutation. Most of our students, we have been hearing about this Omicron and several this changes as far as the spike protein of this SARS-CoV-2 is concerned. That is because basically this is a RNA virus. So please remember that. So rabies is also an RNA virus. In addition to these viral zoonosis, again there are rickettsial zoonosis, protozoa, malaria anta kelirtira, toxoplasmosis antella ide. These diseases are caused by what are called protozoan parasites. Then helminthic zoonosis. What are helminths? ಈಗ ಜಂತು ಹುಳ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ. ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳೆಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ತಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಜಂತು ಹುಳದ ಔಷಧಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. We have round worms, we have tapeworms. They also can lead to zoonotically important diseases. Then we have fungal zoonosis, mycotic diseases, histoplasmosis. Again, there is a big list of these fungal diseases. Then ectoparasites, ticks, mosquitoes. And then we have several types of biting insects. They're all identified as the ectoparasites. And these ectoparasites, they can function like vectors in transmission of disease from one infected or the diseased individual to the other individual. How exactly these zoonotically important diseases are transmitted? It can be transmitted through airborne, wherein the virus is transferred from one host to another host in the form of aerosol. Then vectors, just now I mentioned about transmission of some of the infected agents from animals to animals, or here with reference to zoonotic diseases, it is from animals to human beings. They can be vector based. That means insects can transmit some of such diseases. Then very close association of some of the risk group of people with the animals. So such as the farmers, livestock owners, or the pet animal owners, or even risk group, including veterinarians as well as the supporting staff working in the animal husbandry department, who are likely to be associated very closely with several species of animals in the day-to-day practice. Then those associated very closely with the poultry farming system, and even the slaughterhouse workers, the butchers, they are identified as the risk group people. What I mean by risk group people, they constitute the major chunk of the human population which is having relatively more or the higher chances of picking up infection from these animals, which would have been suffering from the diseases which are of zoonotic importance. Then we have again some more diseases which are identified as foodborne diseases. For example, consumption of infected meat or milk. So I was talking to you about brucellosis. Brucellosis is primarily transmitted through consumption of the raw milk. If the milk is coming from a diseased animal, brucella affected animal, in that case, the brucella organisms, which is basically a gram-negative bacteria, as we call in the microbiological terminology, and then consumption of the milk, which is actually contaminated with these brucella organisms, is a very good source of transmission of brucellosis from animals to human beings. ಈಗ ಹಳ್ಳಿ ಕಡೆಗೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರತೀತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ, ಪೈಲ್ವಾನರೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಸಿ ಹಾಲು ಅಥವಾ ಹಸುಗಳಿಂದ ಹಾಲು ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಂತಹ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದೇ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೊರೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಹಾಲನ್ನ ಕುಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಸೇವನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ತುಂಬಾ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಾರ್ದು. ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಪಾಶ್ಚರೈಸ್ಡ್ ಮಿಲ್ಕ್. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಪಾಶ್ಚರೈಸೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತಹದ್ದು, ಅದ ನಂತರ ನಾವು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಲನ್ನ ಕುದಿಸಿ ಕುಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವಂತ ಒಂದು ರೋಗವನ್ನ ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಜಂತು ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಸಾಯಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ದ ರಾ ಮಿಲ್ಕ್, because it can lead to occurrence of brucellosis in the individuals who consume such food. Even the consumption of meat, thank God nobody consumes a raw meat. It is thoroughly cooked and then it is actually consumed. So these are different ways by which the zoonotic diseases can be transmitted. Before I proceed further with the technical issues as far as rabies is concerned, salutations to the father of microbiology, who is also known as the father of vaccinology. He is a great scientist, Louis Pasteur. He was basically a French scientist. And he was primarily responsible for saving the mankind at the global level through the development of first anti-rabies vaccine, Lasike. So he was the person who developed this, and he is the first person who was actually just 9 years old way back in July in 1885. 1885 July. So this boy was brought to Louis Pasteur, who is standing here, and this is the picture of Emily Ross, who is the medical professional. Remember, Louis Pasteur was a scientist. He was not a medical doctor. So ethically speaking, no medical person can give an injection or vaccine. That is the issue. So this boy, he was brought to Louis Pasteur by his mother when he was very badly bitten by a rabid dog, the free roaming dog. And then by then, Louis Pasteur was in the process of development of the first anti-rabies vaccine. And then through Emile Rost, this boy was being vaccinated. That saves his life. You know, the level of commitment of Louis Pasteur. So he was an artist initially, and then he became a scientist, and he has made several contributions in the field of science. And then coming to the commitment of Louis Pasteur, you know, back in 1883, he lost two of his daughters who suffered from typhoid. In those days, typhoid was a major disease. He was also badly struck with a severe paralytic stroke. He was not able to stand properly. But these family disturbances, that did not deter him from doing whatever he had committed. That means saving the life of a man from this deadly disease, rabies. Unfortunately, even to this day, we do not have any treatment to treat the rabid patient who is already suffering from rabies, or the rabid animal. So we can only prevent occurrence of rabies through extensive vaccination. I will talk to you more about it. So considering the severity of this disease, 4 international agencies, one is the World Health Organization, then FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and then World Organization for Animal Health, OIE, and Global Alliance for Rabies Control. They are the 4 international agencies who have joined their hands together a few years ago under this United Against Rabies Forum. This is called UAR Forum, or the collaboration. They have taken a collective decision at the global level to ensure that the globe is free from this deadly disease, rabies, by 2030. We are going to complete 2021 this month itself, and hardly we have about 9 years. So we have to be really working very hard in coordination with all the other stakeholders, because it is the responsibility of all the stakeholders, and even the general public are also equally important as far as elimination of this deadly disease, rabies, just in a span of 9 years is concerned. We have to be really working on those. As far as the global scenario is concerned, you know, here you can see the Asian continent and then African continent. Rabies is, these continents are considered to be endemic for rabies. And needless to emphasize the major role being played by dogs in transmission of rabies to other animals as well as to associated human population is concerned. This is one major criteria. So also in India, so dogs are the major vectors as far as transmission of rabies to human beings as well as other population is concerned. And more than 98% of death because of rabies in case of human beings is attributed to rabid dog bites in India, and so also in some of the Asian countries. But I said more than, I said just 98%, but what about the remaining 2%? Even cat bites, even the bites from, say, several species of wild animals can lead to transmission of rabies to human beings as well as other species of animals. So, but dogs are the major vectors in African continent as well as the Asian continent. Here we have certain glimpse of the clippings of a paper wherein in Karnataka itself, a few people died in the recent past because of being bitten by rabid cat. This is where our students, they play a major role through the extension program. Whenever you get a chance, please talk to your parents or your friends or even the general public. It is not just the dog bite that can lead to transmission of rabies. Even the cat bites, if the cat is actually suffering from rabies, then there is also very high possibility of transmission of rabies. So this kind of information will have to be passed on to the general public so that seriously the post-exposure prophylactic vaccinations or administration of rig or first aid can be employed in case of all the animal bites and not only dogs. How do we tell that if an animal or your pet has actually the rabies, the deadly disease? The animal will have the general sickness, it will have unusual behavior, maybe it can have the tendency to bite. You see, basically dogs, they are provided with canines and canine teeth, and they will naturally they have the tendency to bite. So in case the dog is actually suffering from rabies, then it will have very high tendency to go on biting not only the living beings, but also the inert objects. I have the video of this particular dog that died of rabies subsequently, and we also tested that in our lab, was found to be highly positive for rabies. So this is having say tendency to bite the tire. They held this dog, they were trying to pull this dog. I have that video, but even then it was not letting it go. It was having very bad tendency to go and bite the inert object. That is one typical clinical manifestation of rabies, especially in case of biting animals such as the dog or wolf or jackal, or even to a certain extent even in case of cattle. Then there is lots of profuse salivation. Profuse salivation can be seen in case of both human beings as well as in case of animals. There is difficulty in swallowing. Animals may not be able to chew the grass and then it cannot be ingested. So also they may not be able to drink water even in case they attempt to do so. And then some of the animals may have paralysis. This is very, very atypical. Here you can see such a forms of rabies in case of dogs especially are known as a dumb form of rabies. They do not have the binding tendency. They do not have unusual behavior as far as the nervous signs are concerned, but they are simply seated at one place, and you can definitely appreciate the dropped jaw. The lower jaw would have been dropped, and that some of us such a dumb-formed these rabid cases of dogs can also be having salivation, and this saliva is a very good, very rich source of virus. That is where the saliva is a very rich source of virus. That is how the rabies is primarily transmitted through the bite. I already mentioned that more than nearly 97-98% of human rabies are attributed to dog bites, and it is more so in case of the children. So here you can see, just to see some pictorial expressions of the dog bites in case of children, and then it is transmitted primarily through the bite. Thank God, rabies virus doesn't fly like a COVID-19 virus. There is no aerosolization of rabies virus, and primary route of transmission is through the bite. So what actually happens when the rabid animal bites an individual or other animals? You see, whenever it bites, and because there is a profuse salivation, and I already mentioned that the saliva is a very rich source of rabies virus, virus is deposited locally at the injured site. Now, rabies virus is highly neurotropic. Neurotropic means this virus is having very, very high level of affinity towards the nervous system. The virus is so intelligent that it cannot enter into the circulatory system. Virus, at no stage of its incubation period, the virus is released into the blood. What happens if the virus is released into the blood? The immune system will start playing, and then the antibodies can be generated within the host system in the circulatory system, that is in blood, and then the virus can be eliminated. So what happens here? You can see in this illustration, this is the nervous tract, peripheral nervous system, then this is the spinal cord, and then here we have the central nervous system, that is a brain. Virus being highly neurotropic, once the animal bites to the host, virus is deposited locally, then the virus will undergo replication at the neuromuscular junction for some time. Then once the virus internally is infecting the nervous tissue, then gradually it moves from the peripheral nervous system into the spinal cord, reaches the central nervous system, and this brain is the best part of the nervous system for virus to undergo replication in very, very high titer. This is the best place for virus. So, but until the virus reaches the central nervous system, nothing is known as far as the status of this particular person is concerned. Nobody can make out that the person is actually already harboring the rabies virus, because that person is not exhibiting the clinical manifestations of rabies, because the virus is still to reach the central nervous system. So once virus reaches here, then all the nervous symptoms, they are actually exhibited. The human beings may also have the biting tendency, profuse salivation, then hydrophobia, then aerophobia. I will show you some pictures of this little later. And this is precisely the structure of virus. You know, rabies. The Westerners, they say that rabies terminology is actually etymologically derived from what is called a rhabdo. Rhabdo means bullet in the Greek language. Don't you see this? This is electron microscopic picture of a rabies virus. This is one rabies virus. This is another. Likewise, we have several rabies viral particles in this particular electron microscopic picture. You cannot see these individual virions in the ordinary light microscope, but you have to have the electron microscopic picture. So don't you appreciate that this appears something like a bullet? That is what Westerners say. The rabies is derived from rhabdo, means bullet shape. But in our own mother language, that is Sanskrit. It is very well documented several hundreds of years ago that rabies originated from the term rabus. ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ರಬಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫೆರೋಷಿಯಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಇಂದ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಓಡೋದು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಫೆರೋಷಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ನೋಡು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಇದು ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ದಟ್. So rabies and rabus, are you not convinced that they are say phonically sounding similar? So we are of the opinion that probably rabies must have evolved from the word rabus, and this is actually the illustration of the rabies virus. And this is a nucleoprotein, and then here this is a nucleoprotein is actually surrounding spirally the RNA of this rabies virus. And this green color portion, what you see, this is very, very important for confirmatory lab-based diagnosis of rabies in case of human beings or any other species of animal. This nucleoprotein is very important for diagnostic purposes, whereas you have what are called these glycoproteins. So can you see these yellow colored studded molecules on the surface of this virus? This is called G protein. G stands for glycoprotein. And these glycoproteins of the rabies virus, they are very, very important to trigger the immune system to generate neutralizing antibodies. And this is G protein makes a very important component of the vaccine, anti-rabies vaccine. So we are all risk group people. In my lab, our team will be handling at least a couple of brain samples from different species of animals from all over the country every day for the purpose of diagnosis. So we are the most risk group people, isn't it? So we will have to be really protective. We have to be protected against this deadly disease, rabies. So no doubt we are using all the personal protective equipments, PPEs, but nevertheless, as a lab director, it is my responsibility to ensure that all the lab team, they're all protected against rabies through extensive vaccination, even before we are bitten or even before we get exposed to this rabies virus in the brain samples of any species of animals. We have to be protected through anti-rabies vaccination. That is called pre-exposure prophylactic vaccination. So that in our blood, we have very high titer of anti-rabies antibodies. In the event of either myself or any of my subordinates or my PG, PhD students, they get exposed to this, no problem. They are safe because they are well vaccinated against this deadly disease, rabies. Then coming to the incubation period of rabies. What we mean by incubation period? Supposing the virus enters into some human being's body through bite. Then for that person to develop these clinical manifestation of the disease, it may take on an average from 2 weeks to 6 months. Again, this purely depends on the site of bite. In case of some individuals who are bitten directly on the face or head or the neck, they have started showing the clinical signs and symptoms of rabies just within 5 to 6 days, because virus need not have to adapt such a long time to reach the central nervous system, because face or nose is very close to the central nervous system. And occasionally there are very, very rare episodes of occurrence of rabies in case of these bite victims, 3 years or even up to 18 years. Even after 18 years of being bitten by a rabies suspected dog, one army Jawan, he succumbed to rabies in Pune just a couple of years ago. There are some signs of rabies in case of human beings. Here also you can see the frothy salivation, and then there is hydrophobia. The person can't drink water. The moment that individual who is suffering from rabies can see this water, he or she will have a fear, and then they will have a fear psychosis for water. And we also see this photophobia. Such individuals who are already suffering from rabies, the moment you expose them to the sunlight or even bright light, they have something like some kind of a phobia. They're afraid of the light. Then some of them also exhibit what is called aerophobia. Joragi gali bandru kuda, they start evincing the pains, and they are some of the typical clinical manifestations of rabies in case of human beings. Here we have some more glimpse. This boy is not able to stand properly because it can definitely attack the nervous system, and then could lead to paralytic forms of rabies, in addition to profuse salivation and other forms of the disease. Now, supposing someone is bitten, what to do? Inform the elders immediately without any delay. Then thoroughly wash the wound with the soap. Here it is recommended to use the soap which is used for washing clothes. Okay, because they're all detergent soaps. And then use sufficient water for continuously for 15 minutes. Not that you just put some water for about a couple of minutes and then forget about it. No. Turn on the tap, wash the wound continuously for 15 minutes with a simultaneous application of detergent soap. And then after 15 minutes of washing with soap, then you can apply this ethyl alcohol, the 70% alcohol. Then you can also apply tincture iodine, and that will totally inactivate the virus, because virus is an enveloped virus. Envelope is made of lipid, organic solvents, especially ethyl alcohol is an organic solvent, and the lipid layer of the rabies virus, which I had shown you there in the previous slides, where the glycoprotein is studded, that will be dissolved in the presence of ethyl alcohol, and then no more the virus can be infectious. So that is how the virus can be eliminated as a part of the first aid itself. To do such effective washing with a simultaneous application of soap or tincture iodine or ethyl alcohol, you need not have to waste your time in search of the medical doctor or veterinary doctor. This can be done by any general public. So please remember this, all the students. Once this is done, then you can consult the medical doctor immediately. Then the doctor will take a further call as far as administration of rabies immunoglobulin at the site of bite, or administration of vaccine, and then how long the vaccination will have to be continued. All that will be taken care by the medical doctor. But this is very, very important. Kindly pass on this information. One need not have to waste their time in searching the doctor. But much before this, thoroughly wash the wound for 15 minutes. But please apply the soap which is being used for washing clothes. Then you can apply tincture iodine or say alcohol at the site of bite. So by this, more than 99% of the viral particles, if it is deposited at the site of bite, will be eliminated. Then this is category 1 exposure. There are 3 different categories of exposure of a rabies. What we mean by category 1 exposure? Just touching a rabid animal, or just feeding an animal, or just if such a rabid animal licks on the intact skin. Underline that word, intact skin. Then there is no risk, absolutely no treatment is required, but only thorough washing and simultaneous application of soap is sufficient. No vaccination is required. No rabies immunoglobulin administration is also required, because there is no scratch or there is no wound. It is just the physical contact, which can be, if the virus is there, it can be effectively eliminated by this thorough washing for 15 minutes with a simultaneous application of a detergent. Then comes the category 2 exposure. Supposing there is a minor scratch, there is a small abrasion with a superficial nibbling of a skin, which is not associated with the bleeding. I underline the word not associated with the bleeding. So here you can see, supposing there is a minor scratch, you can see the inflammation. Can you see this? There is a scratch here, but there is no oozing out of blood. This is called category 2 exposure. Here also one has to thoroughly wash the wound for 15 minutes with application of soap and then alcohol or tincture iodine. Once this is done, then anti-rabies vaccine must be administered. It is a must. Please remember that. For this, you will have to approach the nearest medical doctor. They will take care of it. But this category 3 exposure is a serious. So this is where you can see the bite. Even if there is a oozing out of a single drop of blood, it is to be considered as a category 3 exposure. Here also you have to thoroughly wash the wound, go for anti-rabies vaccination, and then most importantly go for administration of ready-made rabies immunoglobulins at the site of bite only, not anywhere else. At all the sites of bites, the rabies immunoglobulins will have to be injected, and this will again be taken care by the medical doctor. Okay, so these are the 3 different categories of exposure. So kindly remember what you as a students can pass on to the general public or to your relatives or to your parents, and take care of the first aid aspect. And this is just another picture of category 3 exposure, and I already mentioned about it. Yeah, this is just the pictorial expression what is to be done. This is administration of RIG in category 3, and this is the intradermal vaccination against rabies, and then application of tincture iodine, and then washing in category 3 exposure. Yeah, this is what the same thing I have already enlightened you about. First step, second step, and the third step. There are certain don'ts. What I told you all the time is just do's. Now, what about the don'ts? Especially in the rural India, some of our villagers, they are in the practice of application of say certain powders, coffee powders, or at times even chili powders or some other powders, apply some herbal medicine and then put the band-aid. Please do not succumb to any of these practices. And some of them, they also put a coin around the wound and then tightly pack it with the bandage. That should never ever be done. So just subject the patient or the bite victim to first aid, then take him to the medical doctor. Rest all will be taken care by the medical doctor, but kindly bring it to the notice of the medical doctor as early as possible once the first aid is done. Then some tips on how to avoid getting bitten. Do not play with the animals unless you are with an adult. Do not stare or provoke any animal. You see, animals may get excited, and in case they get provoked, they may come and then start biting the individuals. Do not chase a dog or throw stones at them. This is what we see in case of some kids. And then naturally, as a defense mechanism, the dogs will come back and then will start biting. Do not run if a dog chases you. Instead, stand still and call for help. I'm sure most of you have also observed, whenever you are riding a two-wheeler at a very high speed, the free-roaming dogs in the streets, they will start chasing. They're thinking that you are actually an offender, and then they have that kind of a perception. So whenever that happens, please reduce the speed of the two-wheeler or the four-wheeler. You can immediately stand, but don't stare at it. Just you can be looking elsewhere, and then the dog will definitely get back to its territory. And this is my personal experience also. And do not tease a dog, even if it is your pet. Handle them with love and care. If a dog attacks you, which is quite a possibility, then curl yourself, bend your head, totally curl yourself, and ensure that your face is not available for the dog to come and bite. Protect your face first. Be still, and then you can call for help. If it bites at the hand or the fingers or at the feet or the leg, then immediately the all other post-exposure prophylactic care can be taken care. I said try to avoid being bitten at the face because the incubation period can be as low as just 5 to 6 days. So that's the reason one can curl themselves and then protect the face. Then further some more points. Adults must always supervise the animals, especially when the kids interact with the animals. Do not kiss the animals. I know some people are so crazy, they love animals. As a veterinarian, we would definitely tell the general public, the community, please love the animals, but don't put your life into risk. Don't kiss the animals because saliva is a very good source of virus. Another important point I would like to emphasize here is virus can be excreted through the saliva even 7 days before the exhibition of the clinical signs and symptoms of rabies. This is very, very dangerous. So that's the reason, please do not have the habit of kissing the animals. Do not use aggressive punishment with the dog. That is also an animal like us. Put the pet dog in his cell with its favorite toy to chew when there are some guests at home for particular gathering, because your guests are not very familiar with the dogs and there is a possibility that it can go and create some chaos. Avoid stray dogs, cats, and wild animals. Never try to feed or approach a stray or wild animal. Don't put yourself into risk. That is what we mean to say, unless you are so familiar with the dog. Be careful of pets that you don't know. Then, if an animal is acting strangely, then always bring this to the notice of the elders and in turn to the veterinary doctors. Then subsequently, a final call can be taken by the general public or the elders. But if you find any such animal, please bring it to the notice of the elders. Supposing one's pet bites some other person, let's say someone is taking dog for a walk, and by chance that dog, if it goes and bites some other person who is actually moving around the street, then confine your dog immediately and confirm the vaccination state of that particular pet which had bitten the other individual or other animal. Ensure that it is actually vaccinated against rabies, and then immediately get that pet checked by a veterinary doctor. He is the best person to say whether it is the bite is attributed to rabies or not. Then wash the wounds of the bite victims. You yourself will have to do it as a courtesy to the bite victims with the soap and water, as I already discussed, and then apply the antiseptic. Immediately consult a medical doctor for post-exposure vaccination strategies. With all these activities, the rabies-related activities, now India is striving really hard to keep rabies at bay. You know, India is actually considered to be endemic for rabies, and dogs are the major vectors as far as transmission of rabies to human beings is concerned. And of course, we are facing several challenges in managing rabies in our country, and free roaming dogs have been one of the major concerns, and that's the reason Government of India has launched what is called National Action Plan for Rabies Elimination very recently. I have the privilege of being the core committee member as far as the preparation of these dossiers, how to go about control of rabies in case of dogs. But before control of dogs, it is very, very important that we must have a confirmatory diagnostic approaches. And in this context, our veterinary college, which is part of KVFSU, located at Hebbal in Bangalore, has taken a major leap forward as far as the diagnosis of confirmatory diagnosis of rabies in animals is concerned. So this is the laboratory. Again, thanks to my mentor, Professor S. Abdul Rahman, who was primarily responsible for establishment of this BSL2, Biosafety Level 2 dedicated laboratory for animal rabies research-related activities at this college. And when the lab was established in 2013, we had the privilege of CDC scientists visiting the lab, and then first a few training programs were conducted in their presence. And here we are employing several immunodiagnostic tests. We are also using polymerase chain reaction PCR test. I'm sure all the students as well as the viewers are familiar with this PCR test. You know, RT-PCR is regularly employed for confirmatory diagnosis of COVID-19 in case of human beings. Similar tests we are also doing for confirmatory diagnosis of rabies. And here we have a few tests which are routinely employed in our laboratory for confirmatory diagnosis of rabies in any species of animals. In fact, the same tests are also employed in case of human beings for diagnostic purposes. This is about virus detection in the brain samples. Then coming to the vaccinal antibodies. I told you that vaccination is the best way to control rabies in case of human beings or in case of animals. But how do we know that the vaccine is really working well? There are actually episodes of vaccination failures in case of animals, or so also in case of human beings. So here we are employing two tests. One is virus neutralization test, and then very recently, with the support of our Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, we have also developed recombinant G protein based indirect ELISA for serum monitoring of vaccinal antibodies. This is what we can we have been regularly employing for international movement of pet animals from one country to another country. Once we provide the certification, once we provide the certificate to the pet owners and that the dog is well protected against rabies, only after that such a pet animals can be moved from one country to another country. And this is one test called fluorescent antibody technique. I'm sure students have heard about what is called fluorescent microscope. Here, by employing this fluorescent microscopic techniques, we can detect the presence of rabies viral inclusions in brain impression. So this is one impression of a brain of a rabid dog. This is one a neuron. This is the head of the neuron, and then this is axon and dendrite-like structures. And what you see, these apple green color fluorescing foci, they're all nothing but the rabies viral inclusions. You see, this is one spot. One spot may have aggregated one spot may represent aggregated mass of several hundreds of rabies viral particles, because I already told you rabies virus cannot be visualized using this ordinary fluorescent microscope. You have to have an electron microscope. So, but using the fluorescent microscope, we can see the clusters of rabies viral particles, and then through what is called this fluorescent antibody technique, we can detect the presence of rabies virus in the brain impression. What you see, this red coloration is nothing but the brain tissue, and what you see, these apple green color fluorescing foci or the spots, they're all representing the rabies viral inclusions. And there is another test called direct rapid immunohistochemistry test. So this is a very simple test where ordinary student microscope, which most of our PUC students would have used in their biology classes or in microbiology classes, the similar microscope can be used to diagnose rabies without compromising with the quality. And one of my PhD students, we are trying to develop this and make it very, very cost effective. And so that in each and every district in the country, we would like to popularize this technique so that the brain samples need not have to be sent all the way from Assam or Jammu Kashmir or Tamil Nadu, Kerala to our lab in Bangalore. Transportation is going to take a lot of time. And here diagnosis of rabies has to be done as early as possible. That's why we have already trained hundreds of veterinary scientists in the country, and we have supported some more than 13 laboratories in the country, so that regionally we have to have harmonized approach as far as diagnosis of rabies as well as surveillance is concerned. This is one wonderful test. This is called lateral flow assay. I'm sure all of all the students have heard of what is called rapid antigen test kit. which is employed for COVID-19 diagnosis, wherein they take a throat swab and then make a suspension of that and then put that into a drop. Within 5 to 10 minutes, you can see the development of two colored lines, which indicates that the person is actually positive for COVID-19. Very similar test is employed even for detection of rabies virus, either in the saliva, in the living animal, or in the brain suspension, which is collected as a post-mortem after the death of the animal. This is the test can be done within 10 minutes of receiving the brain sample. And this is one of the wonderful tests, and thanks to World Health Organization who have been immensely supporting us through purchase of these quality kits from Korea. And then these tests, preliminary tests, have become so popular that even in the villages in India, at least in most of the states where we have trained our veterinary scientists to how to collect the brain sample and then how to use the kits, just by the side of carcass or a dead body of a cattle or a dog in the forest or in the villages, they are in a position to diagnose rabies. That is the kind of situation we are trying to say support in country, so also in our neighboring countries, especially the SAARC region. Yeah, this is just another picture of the DFA. You can see the brain impression with the apple green color fluorescent foci. They're all positive brain samples of them. This is about the DIRIT. And then another technique is polymerase chain reaction. Routinely, our PG PhD students, they employ polymerase chain reaction, real-time PCR for detection of rabies virus. And here the purpose of application of PCR is to see whether the rabies virus that we have obtained from a dog in Karnataka is similar to the rabies virus obtained from brain of a buffalo in Kashmir. This is called molecular epidemiology. Thank God we don't see much of variation between the rabies viral entities, irrespective of the states in the country. And with all these activities, we were a part of what is called Hawaii Twinning Program, and this is where we are located globally, and we are collaborating with Hawaii Reference Laboratory for Rabies in United Kingdom, that is called APHA, and then CDC Atlanta. CDC Atlanta, they are the major player located in the United States of America in the Georgia state. I had a privilege to, and my team had a privilege to visit both these international reference centers in UK as well as USA several times, and we had also invited this team under this what is called Hawaii Twinning Program. And under this Hawaii Twinning Program, we have trained several hundred veterinary scientists from nearly 18 to 20 states. And very recently, we have also developed this kind of network, and this is the lab where we are, this is the location where we are actually placed. And under this Hawaii Twinning Program, we have a very good manpower among the veterinary profession for confirmatory diagnosis of rabies. This is our dream gradually, which is actually coming true. Now we have extended our activities to our SAARC countries once the lab was actually elevated to the status of Hawaii Reference Laboratory. And you know, brain is the best sample to be submitted for confirmatory diagnosis of rabies. And we have developed very simple techniques of collection of brain. Within 10 to 15 minutes of availability of the carcass, the brain stem can be collected, and this is another technique that we have developed, and then this has become very, very popular. You know, what is the relevance of rabies with this wonderful movie, Three Idiots? In fact, I have seen this movie 3 times. The relevance is that I'm sure most of you have seen this movie. At the end of the movie, the heroine of the movie, through Skype, she will provide technical inputs to the hero of the movie, how to conduct the delivery of a baby. You know, I'm sure most of you remember this particular episode. Likewise, we are also contracted by field veterinarians, veterinarians who would not have got a chance even once to undergo training in our lab, how to collect the brain sample, how to test it and all. Then, but they are definitely motivated, they are inspired. But to encourage, we all the time, we consider ourselves to be lucky to provide some kind of technical inputs and scientific, knowledge to the field veterinarians. Ultimately, they are our soldiers, just like COVID warriors. They are our warriors at the field level. So I request them to get connected through the WhatsApp video calls. Then I just catch out of somebody who is around me. This is one of my senior PhD scholar, Dr. Shiv Kumar. And when I received a call, I just through my WhatsApp video, I just pass on the instructions where exactly to make the incision on the carcass and then how to collect the brain sample. You see, this is Dr. Adiga from South Canara district. He did not have a chance to collect the brain sample even once. You see, here I can see Dr. Adiga taking the brainstem for the first time in his life from the carcass of a cattle, and then this brainstem was submitted to our lab and was found to be highly positive for rabies. And this particular social media based impact has also become very popular, and gradually we are also trying to extend this activity through WhatsApp video instead of just chatting. Such instructions, technically very important and beneficial instructions, can be given to our field veterinarians, and then ensure that they are successful in collection of the brain sample, because collection of quality sample is very, very important for confirmatory diagnosis of rabies in the lab. As a part of this, here we can see the glimpse of several training programs that we have conducted nationally. This is what we have conducted training program in different regions in the country, including Lakshadweep. And then more number of veterinarians are benefited whenever our team we visit different states in the country and then train them. Then that is how we are actually in the process of developing our own network. Now we have jumped out of India. We have also been conducting similar training program for the SAARC region. And this is in fact the impact of the training program, where our field veterinarians are doing wonderful work in the field. And this is the occurrence of rabies. Gradually, we are really of the concern that there is improved surveillance of rabies, because the occurrence of rabies is gradually increasing. Maybe it is because of more and more of samples being submitted to the lab. And at the same time, this is really helping us to prevail upon the government of India to ensure the launching of effective rabies control program. Another major concern is occurrence of rabies in our cattle and buffaloes. You know, cattle and buffaloes, they constitute the major chunk of economy of a rural farmer, a poor farmer who is maintaining his family by maintaining just 2 or 3 milking cows. Just imagine, whenever such cow is let out for grazing, it was bitten by a rabies suspected dog. It can't come back and then tell its owner that it was bitten. Owner doesn't know that. After a couple of weeks or after a couple of months, if that cattle or buffalo start showing the symptoms of rabies, succumbs to rabies, then it's a huge loss to that poor farmer's family. So that's why we have also started recommending our livestock owners to undertake vaccination even in case of cattle and buffalo, just like what we do in case of dogs. And then this is virus neutralization test and ELISA we are employing for international movement of pets. And this is being done on the chart basis. This actually indicates how successfully the vaccination is done in case of animals. This is about the WHO program that we had conducted in Lakshadweep. I had a privilege to visit Lakshadweep and then conduct training program for veterinarians on rabies diagnosis. And it is not just the dogs and cats. We have also reported the occurrence of rabies in wolf way back in 2013. And then this is the worst part of the story. When baby elephant was in fact bitten by some rabid animal way back in 2018 in Bihar, and then that the same, in fact, I'm showing the photograph of the same baby elephant, the female elephant. It was about 8 years old then, and they were celebrating its say 8th birthday. Immediately after 15 days of a celebration of its birthday, this started showing the symptoms of rabies. I believe it was going and hitting its head to the wall, and then it had its natural death because of rabies. The brain sample was submitted to our lab, and this is the brain of that elephant. And then you can see, this is the brain impression that we did in our lab, and we can see the apple green color prolapsing foci, which is a confirmatory diagnosis of rabies in case of this breed. Yeah, again, we had episodes of rabies in jackals in Haveri just a couple of months ago. Animals were again treated. The human bite victims are also treated. This is very recent say development in Maharashtra in Amaravati district. In October and November 2021 itself, we have reported rabies in wolf. The rabid wolves are very, very ferocious animals. It looks they had bitten several, some 30 to 40 tribals, and immediately the head was decapitated. It was brought to our lab in October and November. And then we collected the brain sample and then found that it was very clearly positive for rabies. Immediately we passed on the information to the district conservator of a forest and then the state surveillance officer. Thank God, all the bite victims, especially the tribals, they were all saved. But some of the animals which were bitten by these rabid wolf, they succumbed to the disease. And thanks to my team, because even during the holidays, our PG, PhD students, on my request, they come to the lab. I go to the lab, because providing service to the needy people, to the general public, this is most important, because we'll be really playing a very important role in saving the life of some human bite victims. So in that case, absolutely no iota as far as the delay is concerned. We ensure that we provide the result to them, whether the animal actually had rabies or not, as early as possible. That is the topmost priority of our laboratory. Later on, as per the official requirements, we share the reports. You can see that here. Then how to control rabies? It is through effective surveillance mechanisms and then by undertaking mass dog vaccination. We have several regimens of vaccination against dogs, and it is not just undertaking vaccination in case of dogs and cats, even in case of cattle and even in case of elephants. This is what our trainees are undertaking pre-exposure vaccination against rabies in case of elephants in Kaziranga National Park. We had conducted a training program for Dr. Boro. He's a Dr. Boro from in Khanapara Veterinary College. And wonderful team. They're all so inspired, so motivated. They have taken care of these elephants in Kaziranga. When there was something like a situation of outbreak of rabies in case of wolf, these stand corrected in case of dogs in the Kaziranga National Park. This is just a couple of years ago, this episode occurred. Then other type of vaccines. The domesticated dogs can be caught, they can be vaccinated. But what about the free roaming dogs? They are of a major concern. So catching the free roaming dogs or the free ranging dogs is a Herculean task. But even then, the BBMP, Brihat Bangalore Mahanagar Palike, in association with Mission Rabies and then our lab, we are trying our level best to successfully implement this mass dog vaccination, which we have already initiated since last year. And I think it's going to be a really successful program even in Bangalore City Municipal Corporation. But for effective coverage of mass dog vaccination, at least 70%, 70 to 80% of the dog population must be vaccinated against rabies. Through this conventional approach of catching the dogs and then undertaking vaccination through injecting the vaccine will really take a lot of time. Then it needs a lot of manpower, a lot of inputs, a lot of money is also involved in this. So instead of that, now we are actually contemplating on the introduction of oral rabies vaccine, the bait-based vaccine. Like you take the bait-based vaccine, throw it, you need not have to catch the dog will come and then eat it, then it will be immunized. This oral rabies vaccine is successfully employed in the western part of the globe for control of rabies in the wild animals, especially the foxes, as well as the raccoons and skunks in the USA, and then red fox in case of European countries. And then we are prevailing upon Government of India. We have already initiated the process to license for the importation of this oral rabies vaccine, which are already successful in other countries, so that we can use this oral bait-based rabies vaccine for control of rabies, especially in case of free roaming dogs, and we are already in the pipeline. That's about the vaccine. Then some time ago, I just told you about encouraging the ground level warriors. In the last year or so, the Corona warriors, they have played a major role. Salutations to these Corona warriors. Likewise, we have warriors who are working for the purpose of controlling the disease rabies through catching them and then undertaking vaccination. And they're all part of these municipal corporations. Let us respect them. Instead of identifying them or calling them as dog catchers, refer them as humane animal handlers. ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪದಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಿಕೊಂಡೇ ಕೂಡ we can inspire them, we can motivate them, and this is what Dr. Thinley Bhutia did in Sikkim. And Sikkim is one state where the rabies is effectively controlled. They were identified as humane animal handlers. In Goa also mass dog vaccination is successfully conducted, and then Mission Rabies, thanks to Mission Rabies, which is part of the Worldwide Veterinary Services, for a successful introduction of mass dog surveillance and then successful control of rabies in case of dogs. There is not even a single human death in Goa state since last 3 years because of effective control of rabies in case of dogs through mass dog vaccination. And with all this background, recently we have also established what is called Zero Rabies Helpline, and wherein we have created isolation facility for rabies suspected dogs in a NGO called CARE. And then already this is the number. I request all the students to note down this number. This is the mobile number, which is on 24/7. Supposing you come across any suspected rabid dog, which may be having a spree of bites, kindly bring this to the notice of this rabies helpline people. Then immediately the BBMP will send a squad to these 8 different zones in BBMP jurisdiction. Then it can be caught. Then it will be isolated in an isolation shed in the ward in that NGO. Then if it succumbs to the natural death because of rabies, the brain samples are collected, the brain samples are brought to our lab, then we test it, and then in turn, the vaccination or other strategies are actually implemented. That's about it. But now, what about the responsibility of the public in control of dog population? This is another important message. It is not just the veterinarians, it is not just the medical professions, not just the municipal corporation. Even general public is also equally responsible as far as control of dog population, in turn control of rabies is concerned. Food waste management is one of the major issues. Then pet animal registration. Supposing there are some pet animal lovers, instead of throwing food on the street, you please, with the help of a BBMP, you please ensure that you can adopt these pets, the free roaming dogs, you can adopt them, register them, license them, then be part of the responsible dog ownership. This is how the general public or the community can play a major role or can be a major stakeholder as far as control of dog population and in turn control of rabies is concerned. Then please be part of bringing a kind of awareness among the community, educate the general public community on rabies and its role, especially with reference to what to do, what not to do, which I've already discussed with all the viewers. And the first aid is very, very simple, but most important. Then ensure, such as those who take their pets out for walking early in the morning or in the evening, ensure that the pets are always maintained on leash, put a mouth guard when they are taken outside, so that it doesn't cause embarrassment to the other walkers. So like there is a tendency that such pet animals may go and then start licking them or biting them. Please avoid that. Then we are also in the process of involving some celebrities for improving rabies surveillance. Then convince the general public as well as community. You know what happened in polio program? The famous say stalwart of the Hindi film, Shri Amitabh Bachchan ji, he was actually icon. He is actually icon in the country, and through if Amitabh Bachchan ji says that yes, the general public will have to take their kids in the age group of up to 5 years, they have to administer them with the polio drop, everybody goes. But on the other hand, if the technocrats like medical doctors or veterinarians, if we go and then tell that you have to give this, of course they do, but it may not be that effective. And this is what we are also trying to cash. Then impact of mass dog vaccination. This is in several other countries. We have already success stories. When the mass dog vaccination was carried out, the occurrence of rabies in dogs was also significantly reduced. So also occurrence of rabies in case of human beings was also. This is what we are planning to adopt strictly in our country. Then I already mentioned about the National Action Plan for Rabies Elimination. And as a part of human as well as the animal health component, we are planning to involve the role of government veterinarians as well as government medical professionals. And then seriously think of introducing the oral rabies vaccine, which will definitely help us to undertake mass dog vaccination in the free roaming dog population. And thanks to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, who have been really supporting in the country as far as current status of rabies control activities is concerned. As I said, here several stakeholders are involved. State Health Department, State Medical Department, Veterinary Department, NIMANS is also part of this. Disease diagnostic laboratories like us. Then Department of Environment Forest, because wild animal rabies is also there in our country. Urban Affairs, Waste Management, and then rabies vaccine manufacturers. We have something like an intersectoral coordination among all the stakeholders, and without overlapping each other's mandate, let us discharge our duty with sincerity and honesty. Then all the contribution from these different stakeholders can definitely lead to successful elimination and control and then elimination of rabies. This is a major milestone, as Ayyappan sir in the beginning was mentioning, that our laboratory was elevated to the status of Y reference laboratory. With this, ours is actually the 12th Y reference laboratory in the world. Here we have other laboratories, and this is where we are located. Now we have immense responsibility of catering to the requirement of animal rabies diagnosis, surveillance, and then providing the scientific inputs as far as control of rabies is concerned for 18 countries. And we pray that we get the strength and then support from the governments to discharge our duties so that the rabies is effectively controlled in this region. We have also conducted series of international training programs. Blame it on COVID-19 because we couldn't conduct physical training programs, but nevertheless, with an attitude of never give up, we had series of online-based training programs, and good beginning is half the job done. This is what we are into. And we have already linked medical professionals, veterinary professionals, and then municipal corporations, because these three sectors, they play a major role in control of rabies. And this is what we are already successful in India also. With all these information on rabies, the final take-home message, especially for the students, is rabies is 100% vaccine preventable disease. Then if any of you have pets, whether it is dog or cat, please ensure that they are protected against rabies through vaccination. Please contact your nearest veterinarian. He or she will take care of it. Stay away from the stray animals. Don't tease them. Don't provoke them. Then if you are a wild animal, say, lover, appreciate the wildlife from a distance. Don't be over enthusiastic and then land up yourself into a problem. Then please avoid stray animals, other pets, or the wild animals. Then always ask the owner or an adult before you start petting a dog out of love or affection. Not just dog, cat, or any other animal for that matter. Then if you are a animal lover, never adopt wild animals or stray animals and bring them to your home without consulting a veterinarian. Your veterinarian will play a major role, and he or she will be the best person to advise you what kind of animals will have to be adopted. So with these aspects, I just would like to conclude by a statement that let all of us work collectively against rabies with an attitude of never give up. This is what this is a constitute of the last part of my slide. You see, both are very, very adamant. Both are actually having the never give up attitude. Let's have this particular attitude with effective intersectoral coordination involving even the students. You're also part of the community, so you can definitely play a major role. And then whenever some such episodes occur, please bring it to the notice of your parents. And suppose you yourself are the victim at times, I wish it doesn't happen anytime. Supposing you are exposed to any of these pet animals, please don't keep it to yourself. Please go and report it to your parents. Never hide this kind of information. I have say come across some such episodes wherein students out of fear, because ಏನು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಈಗ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಅವ್ರ ಪಾಪ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೋ ಶಾಲೆಗೋ ಇಲ್ಲೋ, ಬೈ ಚಾನ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ನಾಯಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಚ್ಚಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. It is not the fault of the student, but student is afraid to bring it to the notice of the teacher or to the parents out of a fear that he or she only would have provoked that animal. ನೀನೇ ನಾಯಿಗೇನೋ ಕಲ್ಲು ಹೊಡೆದಿದ್ಯಾ, ನೀನೇನೋ ಪ್ರೊವೋಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಯಾ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೀಗಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಕೋಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಹೆದರಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಕೆಲವು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಅವರಿಗಿಂತ ಪೆಟ್ ಆನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಸಾಕು ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಿಂದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳದೇ ಇರುವಂತ ನಿದರ್ಶನಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ. ಕೈಂಡ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ದ ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಯುವರ್ ಎಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ whosoever is available to you at the earliest, so that they will bring it to the notice of the medical doctor, and then subsequent procedures will be initiated. So with this, I thank you all, dear students, and my best wishes to you all. You have been the young meritorious privileged pre-university students of the sciences stream, and it's more than golden opportunity, sir, Ayyappan sir and Ramesh sir, and for giving me a chance to be part of this interactive session. I think I don't know how far I have been successful as far as passing on the information with reference to the zoonotic aspects of rabies is concerned. My profuse thanks to KST Academy and organizers, with the special reference to Professor S. Ayyappan sir, Dr. M. Ramesh sir, and Mr. Anthony Lobo for the technical, to overcome the technical snacks in the initial part of this presentation. I thank my host university, Karnataka Veterinary Animal Fisheries Sciences University, CVA Commonwealth Veterinary Association, with a special reference to Dr. Rahman. And then during the tenure of Dr. Yatiraj as a dean, this particular laboratory was established. Thanks to National Center for Disease Control, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, who have been really supporting our lab as a part of this intersectoral coordination. So also they are funding. Thanks to the Department of Animal Husbandry, Dairying, Government of India. Profusely thank the World Organization for Animal Health as well as the World Health Organization for supporting the lab. And wish you all the best, students. I have just one more, just one last statement for the students, and nothing to do with the rabies. I again request all the students, please read. Please read, not only for the sake of examination, but to enrich your knowledge. Once you enrich your knowledge, you develop that kind of confidence. And once you develop that confidence, you will try your level best to give back something good to the society. Whatever you are doing, please ensure that you are doing something good to the society. In turn, you are going to really make our country very, very strong. We are all from the great country, India. Please, in the days to come, you are all the youngsters. You are going to be the backbone of our great country. Please work for yourself. Okay, that is what I keep telling my PhD students. You need not have to work to please your teachers or your boss. First, try to please yourself, and in turn, you will definitely give the best to your society, to your family, and in turn to the country. Wish you all the best. And whenever you students, you feel that I can be of any help, I will consider myself to be the privileged person. If you feel that any kind of such a microbiology or virology related, say, information is to be passed on to you, I will be all the time. I will be there. Wish you all the best. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much, sirs.